I'm Javier Villarreal. I am the assistant superintendent that supports Bush High School and all the feeding schools that feed into Bush. So we're almost done. So before Dr. Dupree does his closing remarks, I just have some words I want to share with you. But before that, I have the word imagine that's up here on the projector. Students, how many of you imagine that the district would even ask you to participate in something like this to get your feedback? Do you imagine they would do that? How many students imagine that you'd be sitting with an adult able to share the information? I thought that was very powerful this evening. Well, students, as you can see, we have adults here, and thank you adults for participating. Your words mean a lot to us and your feedback. But this also models, as we've always told y'all, lifelong learning. You've probably heard that throughout your career in school. Well, as adults, we are lifelong learners because we've probably learned a lot this evening. So I shared that with you, and I want to say I've been quite impressed with your participation this evening in the conversations. Particularly, I was amused at some of the comments that the students were making, that they were being very frank and honest with each other. So I want to say I commend you on that. But what I'm most important, or most specifically that I was impressed with, is that the adults were actually digging into the data and having the frank conversations at there to better equip yourself on what we can imagine, what we can do as a community. Now, it was started off, Dr. Dupree started off by saying, you know, there's issues. Dr. Whitbeck said, we know there's issues, and that's why we're having these community meetings so we can address them and move forward and you know, to better meet the needs of our students. Well, we can't do this alone. You know, not only does it take district employees, it takes the community, it takes you as parents, it takes the students. We have to work together on how we can get students better engaged. You know, we know that when students are highly engaged, they're going to behave better in class, they're going to participate more, they're going to want to be in class, and in turn, they're going to achieve more, learn more, and do better in school. Sounds simple, right? Well, if it was so simple, we wouldn't be here this evening, and so that's why we're asking for your feedback. And throughout this, though, I want to share a story with you that was shared with me not too long ago about a particular tribe, an African tribe called the Maasai tribe. And before I share that with you, though, I want to get the students involved. When you greet somebody, what do you say to them? Hello, how are you? Do we have any other comments when we greet someone? You want to say it out loud? How do you greet someone? Hello. Hello. Okay. Well, there's this phrase up here, Casarian and Gary. Or, you know, they were laughing at me because I was trying to say it in Spanish, Casarian and Gary, and I was just thinking it sounded better. I really didn't, you know, it's not an English term, but the meaning of it is, actually I wrote it down here, is, and how are the children? Well, the Maasai tribe, it's a tribe in Africa that has these courageous warriors, and no matter what time of day, no matter where they're at, anytime they greet someone, instead of saying, hello, how are you, they say, Casarian and Gary. They're asking the question constantly throughout the day, throughout their life, their whole life, and how are the children? That's very powerful. They put children #1 priority. Even though we say we do that, you know, are we doing that? And if so, why are we here today? And so just imagine if like when you turn on the news, instead of saying good evening, today is, you know, May 20th, they start off, and how are the children? And their response, no matter if they have children, if they do not have children, is all the children are well. That's how important children are to this tribe. And still today, they still greet each other that way. I share that because I just imagine, you know, with Facebook, with all the social media you're used to, you're always like, hey, what's up? You know, all that. But if someone asked you every day, and how are the children? So adults, I want you to reflect on that. I can already see you nodding your heads on how powerful that is. For me, it was very powerful. But I said, how are the children? They don't say, how is your child, or how is so-and-so doing? It's all the children. Everybody's responsible for all the children. And they respond, all the children are well. And so I wanted to just leave you with that. I think it's a very powerful message, because we're here for one reason, and that's for all of our students. So again, students, I want to thank you for participating tonight. Parents, we thank you. And I'll let Dr. Dupree close us out.
Well, you have an activity, don't you?
Oh, yes,
Yes.
Sorry.
Dr. Villarreal actually has a closing activity when I'm finished, but after you're done with that activity, you're going to be free to leave, so he wanted me to wrap up first. So I also want to emphasize this idea of all the children are well. As a public school district in the state of Texas, we exist for the children in this community. And I just want you to know we take our responsibility very seriously. We have things that we will do in school to do our very best to support every single child. And I just want you to know that's what we're committed to do. We want to do everything we can within our control to help every child succeed. But what we have learned over time is that there are many factors beyond our control. There are societal factors, there are home-based factors, there are all kinds of reasons that children struggle to get to school on time, and they struggle to do their homework, they struggle to behave at school, there are reasons that have nothing to do with the school itself. We are determined that we're going to have a school where children are going to come and they're going to get a high-quality education. In every classroom, we're working diligently on this, because it's going to take every teacher in every room to teach in a way that students want to be in the classroom, where they're learning things that are relevant to their life. We call it often rigor, relevance, and relationships. Students need what we refer to as a rigorous education. It needs to be good, challenging work. And the child needs to be able to make a connection between what they're learning and real life. How are they going to use this in the future? Why is this important to me? And we need to be able to help them understand that every day. Everything they learn needs to be relevant. And relationship. Our students need to be able to have a trusting, positive relationship with every adult they encounter. From their teacher, assistant principal, the custodians, the bus drivers, the school lunch workers. Everyone needs to be a positive voice of support to our children. And we're on the path to lay that foundation. But again, this is where, when you look at that graph, there are also so many others. There are people at church. There are neighbors, there are coaches in the community, because so many of our students are in dance and cheer and baseball and all kinds of things outside of school. Every one of those adults also have a voice that can speak truth to our children and support them and hold them accountable. And frankly, sometimes hold the moms and dads accountable and support moms and dads in the community to help them be the best they can for their children. You know, I hear stories all the time of our families, and some families make choices that are detrimental, but you know, some families are suffering from consequences that had nothing to do with their choices, and they're impacting the children and the children's ability to learn and be successful in school. And there are times where we can bridge those gaps and help those families, whatever their circumstance may be. But sometimes it may take an external community-based nonprofit, like a counseling service or a food or a clothes closet or something that can help that family in a way the school district can't. But again, that's why we're here. We want to engage you. We want you, as you've done on numerous occasions tonight, we want you to be able to determine, how can you help? What resource do you bring to the table? What connections do you have that can help us help every single child? So just know we're serious about this work. Again, none of this is about glossing over it and shoving stuff under the rug. It's about taking it out, calling it what it is, and trying to address it in a productive way among our community. So I thank you once again for investing time in being here, because you are making a difference by joining us this evening, and we really appreciate that. And I'm going to turn it back over to Dr. Villarreal for the closing activity.
Okay, we're almost out of here. So the next thing we're going to have you do is, if you can get out the yellow or the goldenrod sheet of paper, and it's about continuing the conversation. We're going to ask you to complete this and answer the questions. Also in the bottom, community members, adults, if you're interested in serving on a district focus group, if you can please put your information down there so we can contact you, phone number, email. Students, you are also welcome to do that, but if you write your name, if you can just write that you're a student. There's not an actual box for student, but you can write that in, and you can participate as well.